from Digital Nomad Tech. It seems we have a little bit of controversy in the tech world of Big Brother's watching you with Palantir. Founded by Peter Thiel, making the New York Times magazine and asking the question, does Palantir see too much? That's an interesting question, and I think that we're going to find the answer is yes. So in this video, we're going to look at two different things here. First off, Peter Thiel does not understand the Lord of the Rings at all, based on, him saying how Palantir works for good and how eventually Aragorn used it to fight the Dark Lord Sauron. That's not true, buddy. That's not true at all. So we'll be dealing with that and the idea that somehow the elves are entirely good. Obviously, you haven't read the Silmarillion, sir. Because if you read that and you read about the Silmarils and the kinslaying, you wouldn't think that the elves were all good. But hey, that's just me. It's not like I'm a big Tolkien fan or anything. But hey, let's talk about it, Mr. Thiel. So this is just one of those things where, with Peter Thiel making assumptions about the Lord of the Rings, first we're going to talk a little bit about the Palantir, or the Lost Seeing Stones of Gondor, to give the name of his company a little bit more context. So, for those of you who are not familiar with Lord of the Rings, it is a story about how evil must be overcome, even by the smallest among us, where Frodo goes on a quest to destroy the One Ring and save the world. So, this series has 3 books in it. Originally, you have The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King. So, one of the first scenes in this book, the big fight scene, if you watch the movies, is at the Watchtower of Amansul, where there used to be housed a Seeing Stone of Gondor, or a Palantir. So, these stones are a recurring motif throughout the book, and the power they give to see all. Now, originally, these stones were a gift to the men of Numenor before Numenor was destroyed in an incident similar to Atlantis by human pride, where good people became corrupted. That's one of those things that happens, how good becomes corrupted by evil. That's a theme in the Lord of the Rings, believe it or not. So now these stones are captured and used by the Dark Lord Sauron. Sauron, as you may know, is a very good deceiver. He's like Middle-earth Satan. Very good at fooling elves and men into doing his evil will. And it's possible for there to be morally gray characters within the Lord of the Rings. So now, 2 major characters are corrupted by their use of the Palantir and their own hubris, yes, their pride in using the Palantir. That's Sauraman the White and Denethor, the Steward of Gondor. So, just think about this for 1 minute. Corrupted by their pride, thinking that they could use the power of the Seeing Stone of Gondor. Not that it's a good thing that's eventually going to be used for good by Aragorn, where he confronts the Dark Lord Sauron. No. It's what happens when you're too prideful. You become corrupted, or you essentially become misled. Denethor lighting himself on fire, and Saruman, becoming corrupted and losing his power. Obviously, Peter Thiel missed that part when he named his company Palantir, but that's just me. We've already outlined for you how Palantir drove someone insane, causing them to light themselves on fire. This is not a winning recipe here to say that, normal people who used to be upright are actually capable of using the Seeing Stone of Gondor. And the thing is with Aragorn, he's the freaking heir of Elendil. He's basically like Superman in this world. He lives 200 years. He's one of the last men of Numenor, and he's basically blessed with like god-like strength. He's basically Hercules. So comparing him to you, who is a lesser man, is actually not a good comparison, because he's basically like a demigod. That's what the men of Numenor are. They're basically like friggin' demigods. So in the book, only a demigod is capable of wielding the power of the Palantir. And this is a man who's 150 years old at this point, who has already fought the Dark Lord in numerous wars. That got cut out of the movies, but he's actually led a siege of Umbar. This is a guy who's a very accomplished fighter and a very accomplished person who is the heir of Elendil. So let that sink in, Peter Thiel, if you're watching this video. Let that sink in, and then you think that random normal people who are not demigods are capable of wielding the power of the Palantir. So obviously your company is giving people power that they're not actually meant to wield. So either your sense of naming is hilariously bad, or you legitimately have never read The Lord of the Rings. I think it's probably you've never actually read anything that J.R. Tolkien has written, because if you think that a guy who is like Mr. Uber Catholic, if you're familiar with J.R. Tolkien's life, talking about the most blessed sacrament and how you should spend time with it, is going to be going like, yeah, we need a surveillance state is obviously going to improve everything. There's no way that that's going to become corrupted. Dude, you need to reread that book, because you're missing a lot of the motifs. I know Peter Jackson's movie like really plays with stuff, if that's the only thing The Lord of the Rings you've seen, because you named it, because that's when The Lord of the Rings movies came out, and you're like, oh, that's a pretty good name, that's pretty cool, I'm gonna do that. He makes the Palantir look even worse. That freaking Tolkien does. I mean, you might as well have just named your company Silmaril while you're at it.